Hello. Before the Industrial Revolution, most textiles were produced in the home. Linen was woven from flax, canvas and sacking from hemp. Woolen cloth was an important product throughout the medieval period. A labour-intensive cottage industry, it often involved whole families and covered the full process from shearing, carding to align the fibres, spinning, typically done by women, and weaving, generally carried out by men. Travelling clothiers known as chapmen bought up cloth pieces and took them by packhorse to market. Raw cotton was imported from the Mediterranean, notably from Cyprus. By the mid-17th century, the market potential for its use in clothing for everyday wear was huge, but the process of hand-weaving cotton thread into cloth was time-consuming. John Kay, who had been apprenticed to a hand loom maker in Lancashire, invented a metal reed, a device resembling a comb that separated the warp threads and guided the shuttle, speeding up the weaving process and enabling wider fabric. What would become known as the Flying Shuttle was patented by Kay in 1733 and marketed successfully. Kay continued to refine his invention, which made it difficult to protect his patent, and his idea was soon copied. Kay's Flying Shuttle speeded up the weaving process, doubling productivity and requiring extra hand spinners to keep pace with a single loom, kick-starting the search for a faster spinning process. Thomas Hayes, with a similar background to Kay in loom making, set up a mill in Northampton, using a method patented by Lewis Poor and John Wyatt of drawing cotton through mechanical rollers. In 1763 he teamed up with a clockmaker, confusingly another unrelated John Kay, to work on improvements and claimed to have developed the spinning jenny, an invention credited to James Hargreaves in 1764. Hargreaves' machine was essentially several spinning wheels bolted together. However, the thread produced by the process was weak. Meanwhile, Hayes and Kay collaborated on a prototype of an improved machine to draw and stretch cotton to produce a stronger thread that will be usable for weft threads, if not for those of the vertically stretched warp threads. In 1767, Kay was persuaded to go to work for ambitious businessman Richard Arkwright. Arkwright raised the finance to enable a full-sized working model to be built of what will become known as the spinning, or more popularly the water frame, for which in 1769 Arkwright obtained a very restrictive patent registered in his name only, which caused a rift with Kay. This example of a water frame from 1775 is in the Manchester Museum of Science and Technology. An advantage of the water frame was that it could be operated by unskilled workers. Claim and counterclaim followed about who invented what and when. Holding the patent gave Arkwright a head start on the competition. His upper mill at Cromford in Derbyshire was completed in 1771, the first successful water-powered cotton spinning mill and the model for all those that followed. It ushered in the factory age. The site at Cromford had a controllable and reliable supply of water in Bonsall Brook and from Cromford Sough, an underground channel that drained the local lead mines. The mill complex at Cromford was subsequently expanded, and further mills were built in Derbyshire by Arkwright at Cressbrook, Ashbourne, Bakewell and Wirksworth, and a complex known as Masson Mills between Cromford and Matlock Bath. The next significant advance came from Samuel Crompton in 1779. Crompton had spent 5 years developing his mule, a cross between the water frame and the spinning jenny, capable of spinning strong cotton suitable for warp as well as weft threads. But Arkwright's patent made it difficult for Crompton to exploit his invention. He got around the problem by making it available for free and inviting voluntary subscriptions. Richard Arkwright eventually had all his patents rescinded in 1785, but by then he had made a fortune. Kay's Flying Shuttle put weaving ahead of spinning. Crompton's mule put spinning ahead of weaving. Each technical advance in processing led incrementally to the next step forward. Improvements on their way included a mechanised loom powered by a drive shaft, patented by clergyman Edmund Cartwright in 1785, and the replacement of waterwheels by more powerful steam, freeing factories from being dependent for their location on a suitable water source. By 1830, half the cotton goods in Europe were manufactured in Britain. The threat of mechanisation to the livelihood of hand weavers was real and triggered spates of machine breaking. A mill with a rack of 40 8-spindle spinning jennies at Altham near Blackburn, set up in 1765 by Robert Peel, grandfather of the future Prime Minister, a Lancashire neighbour and collaborator of James Hargreaves, was attacked and the machine smashed. Hargreaves' house was also targeted. Robert Peel relocated to Burton-on-Trent in Staffordshire, an area with no history of hand spinning and weaving and conveniently close to hosiery customers in the East Midlands. The attack on Peel's pioneering early mill was not an isolated incident. Trouble by so-called Luddites was widespread. Reward notices of the period for information about frame breaking testify to the seriousness of the problem. Ford Madox Brown celebrated John Kay's 1733 invention of the Flying Shuttle in a set of light-hearted murals in Manchester Town Hall, painted more than 130 years after the event when feelings had settled down. It imagines Kay being smuggled out of his house to safety while machine breakers gather outside and hammer on the window. The Cromford Mill Complex is now looked after by the Arkwright Society. Masson Mills are home to a textile museum, visitor centre and event spaces. Next time, more about the social impact of industrialisation, child labour and the first Factory Acts. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like and subscribe buttons and click on the notification bell to be informed when the next video is available, or you can subscribe by clicking on the rose window over my shoulder.